Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast presented by Fox One. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Friday evening, and I am joined on today's podcast in my triumphant return, I guess, by Stephen Tolbert. Stephen, how are you here in mid-October?
Brad Rowland in the flesh, the man, the myth, the legend. Back from overseas travels, my man is starting his Hawks nonsense that goes on for like 8-12 months a year.
Yeah, the rest of the year.
Oh my goodness, it's good to have you back, buddy.
No, good to be here. I apologize to everyone, including most of my co-hosts, for not being around the last couple of weeks. It was unavoidable, but here we are. No one cares, and we'll dive into what we're going to be doing on today's podcast. It's a Friday night. We're feeling loose. Baseball's on as we speak. On the background, we'll talk about that later on in the podcast. But basically, the backdrop of today's episode is that as a show on the Foul Territory Network, we love our guys at Foul Territory. They are our bosses, but also colleagues, friends, etc. A lot of our shows are going to be doing this particular episode. It's basically taking kind of a team-by-team look at 5 players who may not or maybe probably won't return to the team. Our guy, Derek, from Pittsburgh Territory, is kind of poster child for this. He hosts the Yankees podcast, does a great job with this particular episode every year, actually. I want to say this out loud for the record, and I'm not trying to speak for you, Steven. I'll speak for myself. The guys we're going to talk about today, we're not saying that they are 100% gone. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm saying that right now. I'm big on caveats, big on context, nuance. We're not saying these guys are definitely gone, for the record. Are we okay with that, Steven? We're safe on that?
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to each guy, but there's an argument for all of these guys to actually be on the team next year. But there's real world issues with either their contract or options where, the world exists where they're not. And so that's what got them on the list.
Yeah, look, if we wanted to do a definitely gone episode, we could have done like Eric Fetty and Cal Quantrill and Jared Kelenic, and that would have been not particularly interesting because we all kind of know the deal there. Whereas these guys we'll talk about today, and there are 5 of them, plus some maybe honorable mentions at the end of the podcast that actually have some, like you said, appeal. Like we could probably make an argument for those guys to stick around. Maybe they're gone more often than they stay in a couple of these cases. But it's an interesting exercise and factors in play. So, Stephen, without any further delay, you want to just dive right in here? We can get into 5 guys. This is not necessarily in an order, but I want to start with Marcel Ozuna.
Yeah.
I think that's not a surprise to people that follow our podcast, follow the Braves, that Marcel would be on this list. Of course, he just finished up a contract in which he was making $16 million this last season, now a free agent, free and clear. So that's part of this. He's a free agent. There's no options. He's just a free agent. And he'll be 35 years old in about a month, which is interesting. And of course, as we all know, he is the most DH only of DH only players. Like he doesn't do anything else. He can't run. He can't field. He only hits. And Steven, he was still a pretty good hitter last year. It wasn't like he was a terrible hitter. There was 1 month he was bad. Basically, the rest of the year he was like okay to good. But you know what you got to be when you're a DH only and you're 35? Better than pretty good at the plate.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole crux of it right there, is that you just have to hit so unbelievably well when that is literally all you provide. And especially when you make the kind of money that a lot of these DHs make, like in order to get any sort of positive value on that contract, to be able to look at it and say, the team did well here. And, if you think about how much they paid Marcel Ozuna between 2020 through 2025, which is 6 seasons, there was a couple of bad seasons in there where it got really low. But other than that, they did decently well. Like it ended up being almost $100 million they paid him over, I think, 6 years. When you had the 1-year contract, the 4-year contract, and then the club option they picked up at the end, they paid him a lot of money. And they did about as well as you could do, quite honestly. Now, I talked about this on the last show. They got lucky because the DH came in the middle of that contract.
It did help.
If he had to play left field for the entirety of that contract, it would have gotten real gross, real quick.
Yeah.
But I just, at his age, with his, I'm going to call it a weight problem. Maybe that's not fair. To me, he seems kind of round. Like he doesn't hold the weight well.
He's not in the he's not in the most pristine shape, perhaps.
And a lot of people will say like neither is Kyle Schwarber, which is
of course. No, there are plenty of baseball players who are not in the best shape. Like they don't look like Ronald Acuna. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
And then you
okay.
add in the hip and the fact that he just wasn't a great hitter. He was a decent hitter, but he wasn't a great hitter.
Yep.
There's just a really strong argument. We've made it multiple times when we've talked about outfield or other positions of just going somewhere else with this DH. The dual catcher stuff has been talked about a lot. Yeah, I just don't. I just if you ran a 10,000 simulations, I think more of them he's not on the team next year than he is.
Yeah, and we're intentionally not doing like the full-on deep dive treatment on these guys. It would be a very long show if we did. But we have talked in numerous forums about what it would take to bring Marcel back. And I've said that it almost have to be a deal so cheap that you're okay not playing him all the time.
Yeah.
And that only happens if he has no other offers, basically. Like if you're Marcel, you want to play every day. And the way to do that is probably go somewhere else. And I just pulled it up because I'm interested with the point you made about how long he's been here. Basically, he received MVP votes in 3 of his 6 seasons with the Braves. And he was awesome in those 3 seasons.
What was the total money for the 6 years? Do you have it?
I don't have it in front of me. I think it was probably, almost 100.
It's got to be close to 100.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at 95 to 100, something like that. I'm trying to do the math in my head on the fly here, but yeah, it's in that range between 90 and $100 million. And look, he was more than worth it in 3 of the 6 seasons. This season, he was okay.
Yeah,
and then the other 2, he was bad / hurt and all that. So there were ups and downs for sure, but even this year, he had a 114 WRC plus, and that is a solid hitter. But his walk rate went actually way up, career high walk rate, but power went way down. Not necessarily what they wanted out of him, I would say. And then he had this hot start where he had a 155 WRC plus on June 1st. And then from that point forward, here is his WRC plus by month after that. June 52, July 106, August 110, and September 102. So again, not a disaster, other than in June when he had the hip issue really flaring at that point in time, it seemed like. But if you're Marcel Ozuna, you can't, if you're the Braves, you can't have Marcel Ozuna play every day with a 105 WRC plus. That's not going to be what you want to do. So,
and I'm actually curious, just not even in the Braves perspective, just what his free agency looks like.
Because
league wide.
DHs it's tough for DHs unless you're Kyle Schwarber, unless you're Shohei Ohtani, and you're a elite hitter, it's hard. And yeah, I mean, Marcel's got the age concerns. Some teams might still look at his off-field past and ding him for that. So
hip surgery, potential hip surgery,
hip issue that we all. I mean, he was very. I mean, I think kind of to his credit, he was very open with hey, I'm playing through this.
Yeah.
You could say it's an excuse, but it's really just the reality. He was not healthy. So, long story short, he's on the list and was I think between you and I kind of the no-brainer poster child for this list for the Braves this season. Okay, Stephen, before we move on to the rest of our list, we do have a moment to speak to everyone, I would say, about our friends at DraftKings and Pick Six. Today's show is sponsored by folks at the Pick Six app from DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. And there was a little bit of news this week, Stephen. And I stress a little bit. There wasn't that much news this week. But the one thing that actually came out was the Gold Glove finalists. And 2 Braves got the nods. It was Matt Olson and Nick Allen. And with due respect, we talk about Matt Olson plenty on this podcast, and we'll do that more later on. So we want to shout out Nick Allen on today's Player Spotlight from DraftKings and Pick Six, because Nick Allen, obviously the bat was a topic throughout the season. I think we probably agreed that Nick Allen is not an everyday player in most circumstances. But listen, Nick Allen is a heck of a defender at shortstop. And this is a appropriate way to describe this, him being a finalist. I don't think he's going to win if I had to guess. He might win. It's possible he wins. But I wanted to shout him out number one and just say, he got supplanted obviously by Ha-Seong Kim when he came in, became a starter. That made sense. But Nick Allen was ridiculous with the glove this year. He really was.
Yeah, I mean, he can't hit. I remember you got so much crap when you said that, in May and June.
And I wasn't being mean. It just was hey, guys, he's not gonna hit, man. It's fine. It's okay.
And we had substantial evidence to point to that for
years and years of data.
but my man can pick it.
Yep.
And I think I looked at the end of the year. I think he had a plus 17 outs above average at shortstop, which is the
Yeah.
baseball savant number, which
He
is
ended up in the top 3 in the National League at shortstop in outs above average, to your point, also in fielding run value,
yeah.
and also defensive run save. So, but all of the main big numbers, and he did that while not being the everyday shortstop all year. Like if you remember,
Yeah.
he didn't have the job from day one early, and then the last month he wasn't in the job either. So he only was the starter for 4 or 5 months in the middle of the season, and still on a per game basis, like I think he might have just been the best defensive shortstop in Major League Baseball or close to it this year. He was ridiculous.
And he does it with range. Like he does not have the strong. I think he's got like a 50 percentile like arm strength for shortstops. It's not like an Andrelton Simmons who could literally throw it from any platform and throw it 95 miles an hour to first base.
Yeah.
Very average arm, but he just had absurd range. He had the smoothest hands. The guy just did not miss ground balls. It's lightning quick on a double play. Like he basically did it with like quickness and range. And congrats to him, man. Like, guys like Nick Allen don't get a ton of love, like in any sort of national forum, because a lot of this stuff is built around offense, to be fair.
Of course.
He's going to get some love here. I don't know if he'll win the Gold Glove. The Gold Glove is kind of weird. The Fielding Bible Award, which is kind of the secondary one where they actually use the metrics more. I think he's got a decent shot at that one. But the dude is just an unbelievable defensive shortstop. Can he hit? No. Do I think he should be the starter? No. But he's a hell of a utility player. He's a hell of a defensive shortstop, which has value. And what a year. I mean, what an incredible year. I know he didn't hit, but he fielded the hell out of the ball all season long from the day he became the starter to the end of the year. That was arguably the most consistent part of the team was his defense.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that the way that you did, because it kind of was a confluence of events that allowed him to play enough to be able to be a Gold Glove finalist. Because someone like Nick Allen, there's a pretty good chance this is probably the only bit of like kind of black ink award consideration he's ever going to get, because you have to play so much to have the chance to do that, and his bat won't allow it. So it's a cool story. He may not win the actual award, but being a finalist will be on his bio now. That's a cool thing for him to get. He earned it. He was tremendous there. And one of the all-time StatCast pages, literally I'm looking at it right now, first percentile bat, 99th percentile glove, basically. It's like the all-time outliers on both sides. And not his fault, man. He did his job this year. We said it a lot. It was frustrating to watch him hit sometimes, but like Nick Allen was everything that they could have reasonably expected him to be this year. He was not supposed to be the starting shortstop. He just kind of ended up being that. And to his credit, he played his way into that. So shout out to Nick Allen.
Yep.
Big time stuff. Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, or break out rookies to elite QBs, and unlock the upside that every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. And here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. This season, play your player instincts. Download DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call, ride the upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, welcome back to Hammer Territory, presented by Fox One, and we're rolling along with our list of guys who, probably won't be back. Maybe won't be back in 2026. We talked about Marcel Ozuna already. And the next one is the other guy who was kind of like twinned with Marcel this season in some ways, and that is Raisel Iglesias. So Raisel Iglesias, also, like Marcel Ozuna, is a free agent. They made the exact same amount of money last year, $16 million. It was actually the inverse. Marcel started hot. Raisel started cold. But from the middle of the year, he was like the top 5 reliever in baseball. I have the number in front of me here, but he's a free agent. He'll be 36 in January, similar age to Marcel, like mid-30s, kind of getting up there. But look, Raisel Iglesias is still really good, man. Like if you ask me that If you asked you that 5 months ago, we might have been rolling our eyes a little bit. But I have the numbers. Are you ready for this, Stephen? Because this is important. This is important context. So his full season numbers are fine. 3.2 ERA, 3.3 FIP, basically pretty good. From like early June until the end of the year, so like 3.5, 4 months, right? He was a top 3 or 4 reliever in all of baseball. He had a 1.25 ERA and a 1.98 FIP in his last 46 appearances. After all of the dirt was shoveled on Raisel, including some by us, we were trying to be responsible. We were annoyed with Raisel early in the season. But man, the light came on. He figured it out. And as long as he stops throwing that one pitch that we don't like that he throws on occasion, he was really good. And that kind of leads it to where he's one of the reasons why I opened this podcast saying, like, look, all these guys may not be gone. I would be okay with bringing Raisel back at a reasonable number. I don't know what that number is, but I think he opened the door back up for a potential return with the way he pitched.
Yeah, another guy that the Braves, they didn't sign this contract. They kind of traded for this contract, but they traded for it at the pretty much the very beginning of it. The Angels signed him to that big 4-year deal in 2022, and the Braves traded for the whole thing at the deadline that year. So they took on basically 3.5 years of a 4-year deal. And it's another one where they did pretty well. I mean, I did not love that trade at the time because of how much money they were paying a closer over the age of 30. But credit to Alex, like he nailed it. Like I think Raisel, I looked it up. Raisel has like an ERA below 3 ever since he's been in a Braves uniform, and pretty much all of that has been as the closer. I know at the beginning in 2022 when he came over, I think Kenley Jansen was still the closer, and he was doing a lot of relief, middle relief. But I would have no problem. The Braves need a closer next year. Again, I've talked about this before, but closer is still the one kind of traditional position that is still very much around in baseball. Like all teams have closers. They don't.
I do wonder a little bit. It's not in this podcast. I do wonder if we're going to have, it's going to be a new manager, and I wonder if it'll be a little bit less firm. But to your point, it still may be because most teams, at least most managers, still use
most teams have a closer, or at least have a couple of guys. Maybe they have more than one guy that can close, but like somebody on the team that's got that experience. So yeah, they have to find somebody. Like we've talked about, they need probably multiple relievers, honestly, this offseason. So I would have no problem with him being back. The contract is going to be fascinating because there are some decent relievers out there in the market, but not a lot of them have closer experience. And Raisel has been really good. One thing about teams is they are not nearly as reactive to small samples as fans. And that 2-month like blip for Raisel at the beginning of 2025 is not going to matter nearly as much as the 4 years that came around it, since he's been with the Braves basically. So I think he's going to get a decent contract. And we'll see if it's with the Braves. I never know what to expect with Alex with relievers because he could literally do anything. He could pay anybody. Last year he did nothing, which no one saw coming. Like it's all on the table when it comes to the bullpen with Alex. I have no clue what to expect.
I agree. And just to give the number that you brought up about his Braves tenure, 2.35 ERA with the Braves, FIP in like the 2.8 range. So really, really, really good. Like
that's
really good.
That's a home run trade.
Oh yeah. I mean, he had an ERA of 1.95 in 2024. He was tremendous. Like one of the best relievers in baseball that season. Was really good in 23 when they were winning 100 plus games. It's been really good, very impressive. I think he actually led the either National League or majors in games finished this year, even this year, despite the fact that he wasn't in his best form early in the season. So yeah, a fascinating one. We'll leave it there for now. He certainly has to be on this list because he's a free agent, and he might get a big deal from somebody else. But at his age, like he might be in a discount spot too. So we will see on that. The third guy. I almost don't even want to talk about it a lot because it's been like half of our podcast for the last 6 weeks. But Ha-Seong Kim has to be on this list, everybody. Like it doesn't give us a lot of joy to bring him up. I kind of wish, Stephen, we were able to talk about him either having already told everyone he was going to opt in or a new deal being done. But as of mid-October, he still could be a free agent. And there's been some reporting. I know you guys talked about while I was gone about him maybe leading towards being a free agent, all that stuff. But player option, Alex is a little player options. We know the deal there. Today, by the way, it's literally his birthday. I'm recording this on Friday. He turned 30 today, October 17th. So happy birthday to Ha-Seong Kim. But hey, man, he's a good player. He's not an elite player, but he's a good player. I have one favorite stat on him too that I will share with you now before I forget to say it. His last 4 seasons, so basically the majority of his MLB tenure, if you go by his Fangraphs WAR per full season, so 162, he's been a 3.7 Fangraphs WAR player per full season.
Yeah.
That's a really good player. Not an elite player, but a really good player. And I think the Braves would like to keep him, it seems like, by all accounts. But a lot of nuance here, man. A lot of things going on with Ha-Seong Kim.
Yeah. I said that Scott and I did a show last week or a couple days ago. I can't remember. And I said it to Scott then. I think people are going to be surprised if he gets to free agency because he didn't have a great year last year. But again, teams are not nearly as reactive to small samples as fans are. I think teams still see a really good player when healthy, and I think he's healthy. I think fans are going to be surprised how much money Ha-Seong Kim makes in free agency if he gets there. Now, I think he is going to get there because there's literally nothing else at shortstop other than Bo Bichette, and most of the league doesn't even consider Bo Bichette a shortstop at this point.
Me included.
Yeah, me too. So, like, he's going to have his pick. All the teams that need a shortstop, he's going to be, like, the first call. So, like, and his agent is Scott Boras. Like, I just don't see a world where Scott Boras is going to, because I think Scott Boras thinks that the worst case scenario, he can get $16 million guaranteed in a contract somewhere. Maybe not like for the full year, but like he thinks he can. Right now, the only thing Ha-Seong Kim has, if he opts into the player option, is $16 million guaranteed. So that's the only number he has to beat in free agency in order to make the decision.
Yeah, I mean,
elementary.
Yeah, this is we've already talked about him a lot. We'll talk about him more, but I get the feeling the Braves would just like, okay, if he opts out and Boras has nothing out there for, we'll just say this hypothetical, there's just nothing out there for him. Wouldn't Alex just give him that deal again?
Exactly.
I think he would.
That's my point. Like, what is the risk of opting out at this? And if I'm Scott Boras or Ha-Seong Kim, I don't see any risk in opting out, quite honestly.
I kind of agree with you on that. But anyway, he's on the list. We will not do any more on Ha-Seong Kim. It's been, if you want more, there's plenty in our archives, and there'll be more in the future, I promise you. But he has to be on the list because even it's a player option, which means he has the power. If he wants to leave, he will leave. I still think the Braves have a good chance of keeping him on some variation of a deal, but we will see.
We will know. I will say this: we will know within 5 days of the World Series being over. So we'll know like early November.
We are going to know pretty darn soon about Ha-Seong Kim. This show is brought to you by the folks at Fox One. Fox One is now live stream all their Fox favorites together in one place, including all of the AL playoff games and the 2025 World Series. As we are recording, the ALCS is ongoing between the Blue Jays and the Mariners. They're playing right now. Game 5, as we're recording this podcast. It's been a fun series so far. Mariners took the first 2. Blue Jays answered with 2 more. I think they're tied as we're recording this right now. I wish they were a second ago when I was looking. And by the way, coming up, Game 6 is definitely happening. Game 6 is happening on Sunday. That will be on Fox 1. If it's needed, Game 7 of the LCS will be on Monday. And as a reminder, Fox 1 also has all of the AL playoff games plus the entire World Series, which begins a week from today, October 24th. One of those teams, Mariners or Blue Jays, will be there. Stephen, I know you've been watching lots of baseball. I was unfortunately not able to watch a ton of baseball. My personal anecdote here is that my team in college football, and look, all 4 of our hosts on this podcast love college football. We're pretty open about that. My team plays on Big Noon Saturday this week. Michigan, Washington on Fox 1, noon Eastern time on Saturday. I can only imagine, Stephen, how much baseball you've been watching on Fox and Fox 1 over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been an absurd amount. I literally have the game on right now. Cal Raleigh just hit a game-tying homer in the 8th. The Mariners have the bases loaded, nobody out in the bottom of the 8th of a tie game. It's obviously a 2-2 series. The home team has not won a game yet, which is wild. Obviously, Seattle took the first 2 in Toronto, and Toronto took the first 2 in Seattle. So, but yeah, this is going to go at least 6 games. We know that, like you just said, and then the World Series right after. So, always plenty to watch. Fox 1 is the place to do it. We appreciate the guys at Fox for joining the show as a title sponsor. And yeah, plenty of baseball to watch right now. Oh my goodness. I think Eugenio Suarez just hit a grand slam.
As play by play from Steven. But listen, check out a great advertisement, organic for Fox 1, everybody. Check out Fox 1 from MLB postseason to NFL on Fox to Big Noon Saturday. With Fox 1, you get all of that and more live. Start your 7-day free trial today. Offers are subject to change. Go to fox1.com for complete terms and conditions. Fox 1 streaming now. All right, Steven, let us continue with our list and we'll get out of here. 2 relievers that we're grouping up a little bit together to run our list. We've done the big bopping DH, the closer, who are both free agents, Ha-Seong Kim, who might be a free agent. Then there are 2 club option guys that are not total no-brainers. So we got to, if we're trying to get to 5, these you and I agreed were the ones. And they are Tyler Kinley and Pierce Johnson. Tyler Kinley, less familiar to Braves fans, came over midseason, was really, really good, had an ERA below 1 with the Braves, which was wild. But he'll be 35 in January. All these guys, by the way, other than Kim, are all like in their mid-30s, which is interesting. But he has a $5.5 million club option with a small buyout. That's Kinley. And then Pierce Johnson has a $7 million club option. He'll be 35 in May. So basically, 4 of these 5 guys are in their mid-30s. And Pierce had a rough September, which I actually kind of forgot. He had like an 8 ERA in September this year when it was all over anyway. So I wasn't, we weren't like living and dying anymore. But broadly speaking, Steve, what is your like 10,000 foot view on Kinley and Johnson? Because those guys are at least like not total like mail the card in early club options.
Yeah. So, Pierce Johnson felt like a pretty obvious pickup most of the year.
Yep.
But a couple of things have happened. One, Pierce Johnson did not have a good September, like you said. 2, the idea that he really does struggle with lefties has kind of made its way to the forefront more and more, where he is kind of not a platoon righty, but he's just not a great against lefties. So that like limits his high leverage. And then 3, the Braves, you always have this, like, are the Braves going to need money? And, a $7 million option, I think it's a really low buy. It's like a $250K buyout. It's like basically as low as you can get without having any buyout. Scott's the first one that brought it up to me as like, we've kind of treated this as a no-brainer. Is it a no-brainer? Like, do we need to have this conversation?
No, I don't think it is a no-brainer, just for the record. I mean, I think maybe it's a lean.
Yeah.
It's also complicated, and we'll talk about like the honorable mentions in a minute. But you also have Aaron Bummer making $9.5 million, and that's guaranteed money. That's not an option. But Alex is not afraid, as we talked about earlier on this podcast, to pay relievers. But you start adding it up, and if you want to bring, if they do want to bring in another closer, which Alex kind of alluded to, whether it's Iglesias or somebody else, it gets expensive in a hurry to start stacking all these like 3rd, 4th, 5th relievers. Jimenez still makes real money. He's coming back this year. Kinley is $5.5 million, but like that's still $5.5 million. That's more than you're paying Dylan Lee, who's making peanuts still. But so yeah, it's not a no-brainer. And I think that was the reason why these guys are on the list. I do think that Kinley and Johnson are more likely to be back than guys like Iglesias and Ozuna, because the team has club options on them, and it's like kind of a yes or no at that point, which gives you more autonomy if you're Alex Anthopoulos. But if you're trying to again build a list of five guys to talk about, I think these guys have to be on it. And Pierce is really interesting. I mean, Kinley, I think because he was the only move at the deadline, and we were all kind of like frustrated by that. We talked about him more than we would have normally, but they saw something there and it manifested. Like Kinley was really, really good, and it wasn't a huge sample size, but he's a real reliever for $5.5 million. Like, it would have seemed unthinkable to most of us 2 months ago for them to pick up Kinley and not Johnson, but that could happen.
Oh yeah. Because Kinley's buyout is almost $1 million. I think it's like
nearly $1 million. Yeah, it's like 750, I think. So
that's like 20% of the contract. So it's not the same level of savings as it would be with Pierce. If you think Kinley can be better in high leverage, I can make that case. The slider, against lefties versus the curveball against lefties is kind of the conversation you have to have there. We could go way deeper into this if we wanted to. We'll do that. We'll do that later.
Yeah, not today, but we will.
There's an argument. There's certainly an argument. And listen, some of it's going to be tied to what else the Braves want to do and how much money they need to do it. And those are, unfortunately, that's just information we don't have. And so
that's right. No, this is it's an interesting exercise. We intentionally did not want to put anybody in R5 that would have to be traded.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to mention some guys now. Unless you have more to add on Johnson and Kinley, which feel free if you'd like to, Stephen. Honorable mentions is where we kind of put some guys that we think could be traded. Because, like, I am fond of saying, this is also the case in my basketball work, but it applies to baseball too. Trades are hard. Like, assuming trades will get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Sometimes, before a deadline, it becomes clear to everyone that the guy's going to get moved, and it happens. But look, we all thought that Raisel was going to get traded this at the deadline, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, even more so in the offseason. Like, for example, Aaron Bummer's the guy that I know I've defended to Braves fans who just don't like him, which is fine. But Aaron Bummer at $9.5 million is not exactly appealing, even to me as an Aaron Bummer apologist. That's a lot of money for Aaron Bummer. And if they can figure out a way to trade that, they probably have to think about it. Sean Murphy, another guy that I know I've defended a lot. As a podcast, we've defended a lot. Sean Murphy's making starting catcher money, and Drake Baldwin exists. So he's got to be on at least the peripheral list here as a guy that they could move on from. You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously they could trade most anybody. Like, they're not going to trade Ronald Olsen. I think those guys are safe. Drake's probably safe at this point, I would imagine. But like a lot of the roster, it's like, hey, you could at least wink and find a trade.
So the thing about Aaron Bummer, because I've thought about this $10 million. It's not 10. It's like 9.5.
9.5.
It's basically 10.
Yeah.
Is that weirdly, if Brian Snitker was still the manager, I would almost say Alex is definitely going to trade him, because Snit just never trusted Aaron Bummer in high leverage. He just became a middle leverage, low leverage reliever. And you cannot pay a guy like that $10 million and use him in the fifth inning.
Yeah, but not unless you're like Steve Cohen or something. If you're trying to be somewhat reasonable with your payroll, you can't do it. Yeah.
But we know for a fact that there's a new manager coming in at some point, probably a whole new coaching staff. We'll get to that at a later show. And so there's like a world where he's like, all right, would a new manager use Aaron Bummer differently? Now, I will say this about Bummer, because I have defended Bummer as well. He did come in last year throwing like 2 miles an hour slower on the fastball.
Yep.
And like he was like a 94 guy a couple of years ago. And this year he was a lot of 91, 92. That matters. 2 miles an hour on your fastball matters quite a bit. Now, he still got the sweeper. You can still get lefties out. But again, we're talking about $10 million. So I can certainly make the case. But it's all, they owe him 1 year. It's basically a 1 year deal at this point. I think you could move off of it if you really wanted to. You're not going to get much back in return. I think it'd mostly be just clearing the money. Sean Murphy, we'll see. We will see. You have to have two catchers in Atlanta, and you want them both to be decently good.
And we've also seen repeatedly that even if fans don't understand or don't want to understand, Alex has always wanted two catchers. It's not just an Atlanta thing. It's an Alex thing at this point. He obviously wants two starting level catchers on the roster.
And Murphy does make $15 million, but Baldwin makes league minimum. So
right. Baldwin making nothing makes that very, very easy to take on.
It's much easier to think about it together. As together they make $16 million. And that is doable. Like that's
very
fun.
doable.
So I would be, especially because of the hip injury that Murphy suffered, or we found out about in September, I would be surprised if Murphy got moved. Bummer, I could see Bummer being traded tomorrow.
I think Bummer is probably the most likely player making real money to be traded on the team that's under contract.
Yeah.
Which is why I said his name first. Like, he's probably like the sweet spot guy because it would be easy to move him, I think, if they wanted to, and it's a reliever. But we won't name everybody, but like Ronaldo Lopez.
Yeah.
They could trade Ronaldo Lopez. I wouldn't be stunned by that. If they get in the season, they don't think he's going to be a starter anymore, and somebody else wants him to start somewhere else, he might have more value to somebody else in the Braves. That's like one of those very interesting things you could see. Ozzy post pickup of an option, they could trade Ozzy. I mean, we kind of debated, you and I, putting Ozzy on the original 5 list, but it was like, do we really think Ozzy's going to be like? I think we both think Ozzy's going to be back. Yeah. So it was like kind of a hard sell. But there's a club option there. There's trade stuff there, whatever. So no, honorable mentions is a long list. You can even talk about like non-tender guys. Jake Fraley is a guy that I think is a real major leaguer, but like he might be non-tendered. That's very possible. Nick Allen. We talked about Nick Allen earlier.
Nick Allen makes the minimum basically,
but if you don't want a 0-bat utility guy, if you want to go with Nacho or something else, like if you don't want that profile, maybe you move on from Nick Allen too. Like a guy that started a ton of baseball games this year for you and is so cheap. If that's all you know about a guy, that you would assume he might be back, but that's a profile that you have to like. Otherwise, you don't like it.
And I'll say this: if you sign Ha-Seong Kim to the kind of money I think Ha-Seong Kim's going to get, you're not subbing Ha-Seong Kim out in the 8th and 9th inning of games.
Oh no, he's playing every inning. Yeah, you're
and
right.
if you're not going to sub him out for a defensive replacement, then what the hell is Nick Allen going to be on the team to do?
Well, he's basically only there for this scenario.
For injury.
If you get hurt, that's basically it. Which there's an argument for that when you're making the minimum. Anyway, that's for another show. But that's just goes to show you there's a lot of guys that could be on this list further down that we're not talking. I mean, even somebody like Bryce Elder. Like we talked about Bryce Elder the last 2 years of like, if another team wants, it doesn't have to be just Bryce, even Joey Wentz, pick your other guy who's like very, very possible that
there's a world like AJ Smith-Shawver gets included in the deal. Like, yeah,
I kind of doubt that one just less, but still, yeah, it's possible for sure. Yeah. I mean, anyway, it's a October show, Stephen. We've done it. We've uncovered our 5 plus honorable mentions and deep dives to come. I mean, we shared some numbers, but like we're gonna do the deeper dive, positional, player centric, more depth talks because we have plenty of time for that. We're in this nether region. We've been very open about that. About like we're not used to doing shows in October. They're not about playoffs, so It's like we're in this little in between land right here. But hey, check out Fox 1, by the way. Check out baseball. There's baseball happening right now. I've been excited to be back this week and watch baseball live. That's been fun. Enjoyed that. And maybe we'll just play out talk at some point in the podcast soon. Because
I think the Dodgers is going to take over the world anyway, so I'm not sure there's much to talk about.
The Dodgers are looking pretty darn good for sure. But I mean, as soon as you have Yamamoto throwing a complete game, it's like whoa.
The fact that
that doesn't happen anymore.
The fact that they got all of their pitching to October, like it wasn't healthy all year, and somehow they got it all to October healthy, is just unfair.
The light came on and they're loaded for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, thank you for doing this on a Friday evening. Please, if we might have a new listener or 2 or 7 or 12, where can folks find all of your musings on the Braves and everything else? Roll Tide and such, because I know you're a Bama guy and such.
Sean left town before Bama, Tennessee, because he didn't want to stay.
Sean's just ducking me. Sean's ducking me. That's all it is. I came back, Sean left. That's just what it is. But
he didn't want this. He didn't want the smoke. Yeah, B_outliers. You can come follow along. We do a lot of live tweeting. Obviously, the Braves aren't playing right now, but yeah, college football, college basketball is about to start. At this, Al Ford, the host on this show, a big college basketball fan. So yeah, come join and talk some sports.
Yes, indeed. If you'd like to follow me on social media, it's at BT Rowland. And more importantly, the show is at Hammer Territory on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And please subscribe to Hammer Territory. Presented by Fox 1, by the way. We can be found anywhere on your podcast players, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We're on there. So like the show, ratings, reviews, all that is very much appreciated. Stay tuned, everybody, and we'll see you all next time.